If AK can talk to himself, so I can talk to myself too. Not meant to disturb AK here, but I wanted to react to his Keppel DC REIT video because I know his portfolio, consists of banks. Of course, he'll be more familiar with his portfolio than me, but through his YouTube channel, it seems like, yep, he's well known for banks, right? So in that Keppel DC video, he brought up 2 points, sharing his train of thoughts. And I could sense that he uses a lot of these two operating metrics, earnings per unit and price to book. I just want to be mindful of how earnings per unit is being derived. So if you look at the entire profit and loss statement, there's this top line where the revenue less of the property operating expenses, we get the net property income, less of the admin, trustee, finance costs items, and there's this component just before our net profit. It is this component called valuation gain and losses. This portion is subjective based on my observations after investing into REITs. Why is it subjective? Because you get a third-party assessor to assess the value of the properties or the data centers in your REIT, right? So there are companies like, remember there's one Colliers, Colliers, there's another one which is JLL. Of course, there are other third-party assessors. So this part is subjective already. It's a subjective assessment. So if you do use earnings per unit in your REIT selection framework or any part of your investment selection framework, just be mindful, okay, that this earnings per unit can be swing wildly due to these valuation gains and losses, and more so even in REITs. So don't be alarmed if you see next year your REITs earning per unit drops drastically. The next part is the price to book. So in price to book, this ratio, there's the share price, there's the book value. The book value is linked to these valuation gains, and that is subjective already. Who determines what's the right share price to buy? That's so subjective because you see value differently from I do. We see value differently from what AK sees. So if you want a technicals on like how the book value is linked to the valuation gain, I'll put that link in the video description or at the end of this video. Today, the focus is really on updating or understanding Keppel DC business operations. As you know, my style or my train of thoughts have always been to understand the fundamentals and how well or how healthy the business is. Yesterday, I was updating the information of Keppel DC, and that was when I realized our dear Keppel DC REIT managers gave us this extra information called the revenue attributable to each DC. Perhaps what you always will know is they only give the revenue by each category, which is the co-location, fully fitted, shell and core, and by each country. They have never ever given information or revenue attributable to each DC. So with this information on hand right now, it allows me to understand my business operations even better. So I really need to thank my Keppel DC REIT management for giving me this piece of information to understand my business even better. So if you know the revenue attributable to each DC and the segment table gives us the gross profit margins, percentages of each category, you'll be able to get the NPI. Right? You can see the revenue, you can see the gross profit margin because of the information provided by each category. Then I'm able to get the net property income. That allows me to find out the property yield. Why is this important to me? So that at least I know for the debt that I'm holding on, in order to operate this DC, am I generating sufficient returns? So we can assess by the property yield. I remember in this table there's a range as high as 15%, as low as 4%. However, something to take note, DCs don't really work the same as retail mall REITs, because I remember from Moore's Law, MOORE'(S)LAW, that the size of capacitors or transistors can shrink, right, with minimal cost. But in layman, it's just saying that as technology advances, you're able to put more server racks into 1 square feet. If I use the revenue divided by the square feet, you can see that the each DC is having a wide range as high as $400, as low as $20. I'm also going to check in with my managers during the AGM. But of course, the best one will actually be the megawatts. Currently, that table doesn't have. I don't seem to be able to find the information, because at the end, the intention of going through this whole process is just to allow myself to know, hey, even at this current share price of Keppel DC, is it worthwhile buying it? So if AK can talk to himself, so can I. And if before you go about investing into Keppel DC REIT or any data center REIT, this video right now shown, you might want to watch it so that at least you get yourself prepared when you own a data center REIT.